I had one chance to make a ton of sales with one email, or I would be fired. You see, a year ago when I first started working with a new client, I did a welcome sequence for them and some other things. And as welcome sequences tend to do, they do not bring in a ton of cash immediately because you need a lot of people signing up if you actually want to make any sales with a welcome sequence. And for some reason, I decided, yeah, that's what I'm going to sell this guy. And lo and behold, it didn't make a shitload of sales. And the guy was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You want to sell me more stuff? Yeah, I'm not sure. Can we wait a little? And my genius mind goes, okay, I'm going to give you one email for free, just so you can see the power of like email broadcast sent to the whole list. I believe it was around a few thousand people on the list. 1 year later, we're working, still, best client I have, and so you can probably guess it went very well. What I did in that email was I fucking stuffed it with pain points. I wrote a nightmare email about their nightmares, and I used everything that I'm about to tell you in this guide, and I do that still to date very often, and it works like a charm. And by the way, just to preface this, don't be afraid of manipulating people's emotions. I'll get into it later, exactly why that is, and that's going to be the best sauce you've ever seen about pain points, maybe about anything. Okay, I'm kidding. So stick around for that. First thing I want to tell you is think about the goal of pain points. Actually, because how do you usually do them? Let me make it in a copywriting example. You would write something along the lines of, you're doing all this outreach and it doesn't work. And so you can't retire your mother, and you drink so much sleep. No, you don't drink. You didn't drink so much coffee that you don't even sleep. You're up until 3 a.m. and then you fucking sneeze on the keyboard. Thank you, sorry. You're up until 3, you wake up hating your life, caffeinated, and you just wish that everything went away or something, you know? 1, that's boring to read. 2, it's not the actual pain points. 3, it's very boring to read. 4, it's not the actual pain points. So I want you to think about the goal first. I'll tell you how to make that into very good pain points later. But the goal is to make them feel pain. No, I mean also make them feel you understand. Let me put that in a little box right here. Make them feel you understand, because you cannot sell me something if you do not understand my position, because I don't believe that you have the solution if you don't understand the position. And inversely, if I understand that you understand exactly how I feel, how I think, what I'm talking about, what words I use, well, in that case, I also imply, subconsciously or consciously or whatever, that you know exactly what I need to do to get to the dream outcome. Now, when you write your pain points, next time you write an email or a sales pitch or whatever, and you're in this, okay, let me write pain points, I want you to use all 4 of these elements. I want you to use thoughts. Actually, let's not name it thoughts. Let's be a little bit more smart. Monologue. Ooh, he said monologue. Look at this one, dialogue. Dialogue. Actions. I don't have a fancy word for that one. And feelings. Yes, I can say emotions, but that's fine. So, why am I saying it? Why all 4? Because that's how you can vividly explain something. You know when you're reading a book? Like a fiction book, how they write, you know? They're using all of this dialogue, this what you're thinking, feeling, actions, and you can actually get immersed. You can almost fucking see it. Now imagine you had that language, but on pain points, and you can see them. How much more effective would they be than you're stuck in the 9 to 5, and you hate your boss, and you want to quit, and you're still stuck in a hamster wheel. You get home, your wife hates you, and please buy my copywriting course, please. You know, that doesn't work well. Or my insert course. But listen to this one. If I wanted to sell you an outreach method, right? And I said, you're DMing 40 people a day currently. And you enter Instagram a few times a day, a few too many times a day, on family meetings while you should be doing something else, at work while you're studying, refreshing and there's just no one. And even if someone does reply, 2 seconds later you realize, fuck, it's a seller who's trying to sell me something else. So that's what your reality looks like. But that's because you don't realize that outreach methods are so saturated, man. Like, no one trusts you anymore. And instead of doing outreach, which is so tedious and really literally doesn't get you any results, you should try XYZ. You should try content, because that attracts people to you. And so you won't feel this, fuck, did I waste $100 on this course? Because you're building something real. But with outreach, when you bought that course of $100, of course you're feeling devastated. Of course you're feeling like nothing works. Of course you're talking to your friend and saying, I just spent $100 for no reason. I mean, literally everybody's using the method. How can it work? Okay, now, by the way, this was not actual me speaking facts. This was me doing some pain point theory on you. Well, why does that work? So my very first sentence already, it went like this. You're DMing 40 people a day. I said 40. Why did I say 40? Well, because I know that that's what everyone tells you to do. I understand you. I understand the market. And when I say 40, you're like, this guy knows the number 40, the guy, he's in the game. He understands, therefore, he must know something I don't, right? Or you have the thought of, did I just waste $100? That's probably how much you wasted. That's probably how much you bought. Or you feel like it's saturated. You feel like, everyone else is using this outreach method, so it cannot work. Or you're like, yeah, you're refreshing, and then, fuck, it's a setter, right? You see how specific that is? I'm using very, very, very specific pain points to describe your inner reality right now. But how do you find this out? Of course, it's easy to write it's easy to do this. I'm talking to a copywriter. I am a copywriter. Very easy. But if you work for an aviation company or whatever, this is what you do. You do client interview, forums, and marketing materials. You can do more, but this is the best bang for your buck. By client interview, I mean as soon as you sign a client, if that ever happens, of course that will happen, I'm just joking. When you sign the client, you take him or her to an onboarding call, right? And I want to make this very clear. If it takes 2 hours, it takes 2 hours. The onboarding call should be very long, where you're asking them all sorts of questions so you can exactly understand how their customers work, what they think, how they feel. You ask them what keeps them up at night. What's their nightmare scenario look like? What do they dream about? What words do they use to describe it when they talk to you, when you talk to them? And all these things. Get this all out of the creator, founder, whatever, because that's actually going to help you make them more money. So really don't feel guilty about it. Like, I have onboarding calls that are 2 hours long. I don't give a fuck. Next, you want to use forums like Quora, Reddit, because that's where people are very unfiltered, okay? Because a problem with surveys a lot of the times is that people write what they want you to see that they wrote, but on forums, on the internet, they're often just completely unbiased. They're completely, not unbiased, but I mean they're completely unfiltered. So on Reddit, you can actually use you can see the actual words they use, the questions, the pain points, everything, what they fight about, Redditors, right? And that's gonna help you a lot. Then you wanna go to marketing materials. Actually, you might wanna do this before the forums, because you wanna see, okay, if they're running ads, well, if they're running ads, that means that probably works, right? No one wastes money on ads, right? If an ad has been running for a few months, it's probably doing well. No one would just burn their cash like that. And you see what pain points they use, and you just take them, you just steal them. It doesn't matter. The goal is to make money, not to invent new shit. So that's exactly what you want to do. And you want to find these pain points, because research, I'm telling you, is so important. And I know you know it's so important, but I know you don't do it. I know you just, whatever, you write, you do the bare minimum, and that's it. Or even in your practice emails, you just write. Well, why would you do practice emails? if you don't practice the right thing, right? You gotta be like Bruce Lee, who one kick 1,000 times, right? Next, not every email needs pain points. Not everything you write needs a pain point, okay? Why? Because pain points can be insanely boring. So what I want you to know, and a common theme you'll see in all of my videos, is stop fucking using templates. So I want you to stop abusing PAS. I mean, I know this is about pain points, but now I'm telling you not to use them, because you do not want to use them in every single email, right? Because you've always been taught how to write an email. But an email is not in isolation, right? Emails don't work that way. Whenever you send an email, you're never gonna get a bunch of sales. I mean, you will, but you can, but you're never gonna get an insane amount of sales. Where you are gonna get an insane amount of sales is in a month, where you send 10 emails in a month, or you send 20 emails in a month, or whatever. Because they're cumulative, they all chip away at a sales argument. That's how emails work. And so if you're always just pain point, dream outcome, pain point, people aren't going to develop a relationship with you, with the creator, with the client. And they won't read everything it takes to actually get to the buying decision. They will not buy. So and I get into this in other videos, but you want to stop abusing the PAS, which is problem edge solution. And you want to start telling stories. You tell stories tied to a product, tell what the product can do for them, and that can be it. You want to focus on being fun and entertaining. Your emails need to be fun and entertaining if you want someone to read 50 emails, because when they read 50 emails, they will spend much more money than if they read 3, obviously. And the business you're working for will make much more money, and therefore you will as well. So please just stop abusing PAS. Stop thinking that you need pain points in every single thing you write, but when you do write them, follow these steps. Now, we're getting to the best sauce. We're getting to the best sauce. And by the way, before I get into it, I'll say it after we get into it. So, you're not describing a reality. And I will put a box around everything because this is the most important part of the video. So, understand when you're describing someone's pain points, when you're talking to someone and I'm talking to you about outreach methods, I am not trying to describe the actual state of the world objectively. First of all, because no one can do that for all kinds of reasons, right? I think that's pretty obvious. My goal isn't to describe how things actually are. My goal is to describe how they are in your own inner reality, which is totally different from my inner reality or someone else's inner reality that's not also in the target audience. And it's not the absolute truth. So, for example, if I wanted to sell you an outreach method again, I will tell you that what you're doing doesn't work, right? I will say, yeah, you're trying to do all this. You're sending all of these DMs, you're sending all of these emails, you're recording looms, and it's so difficult, it's so time consuming. But don't worry about it. It doesn't work anymore, okay? Because no one trusts you anymore online. Everyone gets so much spam emails, so much everything that people, why would they even open yours? If they literally get 50 DMs a day, you think they're gonna open yours? Hell no. They won't. But that's not so that's not the thing you want to use. Actually, you want to use insert XYZ method, where you don't have to outreach like you're currently doing. People actually reply, people actually respect you, yada, 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 yada. What did I do there? I pressed on your doubt. I pressed on your inner reality, because obviously it's not true that you can't get a client online. Is it the best method? Is it not the best method? Completely doesn't matter, all right? Objective reality here doesn't exist as to what is the best method to gain clients in 2026, but you are doing so much outreach right now, and you're feeling, and it's so difficult, and you're doubting yourself, right? You're thinking, fuck, why can other people do it and I can't? Is it really so saturated? and I'm confirming your inner world, and I'm saying, yes, it is saturated. It sounds manipulative as hell, but it doesn't matter. If I'm trying to get you to buy something, that's what I'm gonna do. And if the product is actually genuinely helpful, it doesn't matter. So I'm pressing on your inner reality. And I'll give you another example. I invested into a high-ticket program, and about copywriting, of course. And one of the emails, the guy said, I wouldn't even know how to teach someone to get a retainer now. And I used to do that for a living. Is that true? What do you think? By the way, the program has nothing to do with retainers. It's another method of working, whatever. That's all you need to know for context. But do you think that's true that he wouldn't know how to teach someone to get a retainer? Of course not. Of course it's possible to get retainers. Is it the best method? Is it not the best method? That's for another video. But of course it's possible. But when I was reading that, in the moment, my own inner reality was, fuck, it's so hard. Like, no one wants to risk it anymore because everyone has been so burned by copywriters. And so this guy came, confirmed my doubts, confirmed my inner reality, not actual reality, made me buy something. I mean, great investment. So I'm thankful that he did, right? So like, you don't have to, please don't be like, oh, I don't want to do this, it's manipulative, blah, blah, blah. The best email, one of the best email formats that you can ever use is the nightmare email. The nightmare email. Nightmare email. Excuse me there, my whiteboard is falling apart. There you go. I set it up a few days ago. What I don't do for you, huh? So the nightmare email, what it does is just shows them their nightmare scenario. For example, I can write if let's say I were selling a course on sales calls, how to take sales calls and overcome objections and how to actually land clients while you're there on the sales call. And I can say, picture this, you've sent 1 billion, trillion, whatever, outreach is finally on this call, okay? And he asks you the question, so what's your experience like? What did you do? You freeze up and you're like, oh, well, I wrote for Apple or whatever. I wrote for something. Yeah. A business from 10 to 37K a month. That's what I did. And the client just knows that you're lying. Or you actually tell the truth and you say that little experience that you do have, and he's like, okay, that's not that much. I mean, and he instantly takes a frame. And in the rest of the calls, he takes lead, asks you questions, you say your price, you underprice yourself, and he just goes, no, that's too much. And in that scenario, you're like, oh man, what the fuck do I say? So you drop your price even more, and then he realizes that you just made up the price for no reason, you drop the price for no reason, and he says, you know what, I'm gonna have to think about it. Okay, and then you go, oh my god, yeah, okay, fine, take a few days. And then he never comes back, and you feel utterly devastated after you realize, oh my god, I don't think he's getting back to me, and you followed up 7 times. That's what a nightmare email would be, right? Where I am depicting your nightmare scenario. Because, for example, no, actually I'm not going to get into that example, but I will. Take the example of hell, right? Whether you believe in it or not. You can be like, I don't want to get into hell, so I don't want to do all these bad things. It's a very good motivator, right? Hell can be, I don't want him to say, let me think about it, and then never answer again. And so, if I put you in that frame of mind, and then I offer you a solution, that's going to be very, very compelling. And now for the last point that I want to make, and by the way, no, before I make the last 2 points, which are absolutely amazing, first link in the description, get my free lead magnet, which is how to become an email copywriter that people would be dying to hire. And it's not for beginners, okay? I'm really not gonna talk about the most basic tactics ever there. I'm assuming that you already did your due diligence, that you already are a copywriter a little bit, and you actually want to go from I'm okay to I'm fantastic. Take that, read that, and then read my emails, because you'll see exactly how someone who does that for a living does his emails. So, you want to connect the dots, okay? Actually, let me make some space because this is important. Some space. This is very important. So you want to connect the dots. Alright, connect the dots. What does that mean? So if you can say pain points, if you can say the right pain points, you're already doing very well. But that's actually the middle part. Before that, if you can connect how the mechanism leads to pain points, then that's even better, right? Because you're really in a logical way and believable way, because people also need information to buy. No one buys just on logic, okay? They need information first, and then they justify with logic. So if you can really connect the mechanism to the pain point, that's going to work fantastically well. So if I can show why people are not hiring you, if I can show why people are not opening your DMs, why you send free value and you think it's fantastic, but then the guy doesn't even know how to appreciate good copywriting and then never gets back out to you and you feel like you just wasted a whole day. If I can connect and say, why? So, why? Okay, I also could have written it just here, but okay. If I can connect that why, and then if I can also show you the future that that's going to bring, now we're talking. Now we're talking. And again, not every email needs to have everything, as we said, but if you want to make a nightmare email, if you want to make an email really focused on pain points, then you can use this, and it's going to help you a lot. Because if I can really show you why your current method leads to all these pain points, and then why all these pain points and mechanism will lead to a very, very vivid and unpleasant future for you, then you have no reason to not want to learn more. You have no reason, if I can really convince you about in this over time, you have no reason to keep doing what you're doing. And then you want to learn more, you want to hit the sales page, you want to read it, you want to consider it, you want to buy it. So this is sauce. And one more sauce for today is the problem mechanism. And again, I don't want you to do everything in every email, because with the rule of one, I'll get into that in another video. But, well, I love how my handwriting always deteriorates. Like I make a video. I mean, this is the first one you're gonna see on this whiteboard, but whatever. I've pre-recorded a few, and I start, and it's okay, and then it becomes just shit. But whatever. So, what is the problem mechanism? It's me saying, you think your problem is X. Everyone tells you the problem is X, but the problem is actually Y. That is the problem mechanism, and it works very well. And this is a type of email that you can use just on its own. Because the problem mechanism, what it does is that it relieves you and shows you a new way, a new path. So for example, if I can say that you're so focused on your outreach method, and you're all of the time you're wasting your time looking at all these YouTube videos, buying all these courses, looking for the one thing that's finally gonna work, the one thing that actually nobody uses and it's gonna make you so much money. But that isn't your problem. Your outreach method isn't your problem. Everything works if you do it for long enough. Your problem is your mind. And with Mindinator 3000, my new course, I show you exactly how to set your mind straight so you can manifest clients, for example. And then I show a new path. Obviously, I put in a little bit more effort than this, but this is just to understand the structure. Or another example, look, you think that you need to train more and do more cardio to lose weight. You think that to lose weight, you need to starve yourself and eat burgers, but without the buns, but instead of the buns, lettuce, and all this other bullshit you see online. Everyone has told you that you need to count your calories all the time, and I know you hate it. And everyone is telling you how to restrict yourself, how to be unhappier so you can look a certain way. But that isn't your problem. Your problem is that you don't have the right recipes, which are so tasty, and they make you lose weight without you even feeling like you're on a diet. Because you think your problem is here, but your problem is actually that you don't know the right recipes. And with my Recipinator 3000, you're gonna learn exactly that. So this is the problem mechanism. So to recap one more fucking time, your goal is to make them feel like you understand. That is the goal of a pain point. And you want to be as specific as possible. So I never want to see any more of that. You hate your 9 to 5 and you know you want to quit it so you can show your whatever, the middle finger, and stop drinking coffee till 3 a.m. No, because this isn't realistic. This isn't specific. This isn't how people actually feel. How people actually feel is much, much more specific. You're sending 40 DMs a day. You see 40. I know my market. I know the benchmarks. 40 DMs a day. When someone replies, it's a fucking setter. You feel like you'll never get a client. You feel like everyone else is getting the clients except for you, and you're thinking, why does it only work for everyone else and not for me? What did I use here? Specificity and also real shit, but I also used monologue, dialogue, actions, and feelings, emotions. So we talked about that. We have the problem mechanism. We have how the mechanism leads to the pain points. If you can really connect it in an email and show exactly why what they do illogically leads to all these emotional pain points, and then you can also explain why, if you keep doing that, what's going to happen to their business or to themselves as a person, then, well, where did the British accent come from? I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. See, I'm Croatian, so I'm just learning English as we go. No, I'm kidding. But learns how it leads to a shit future, not the singer, that one's a great one. If you can show that, that's going to be very, very compelling. Never be afraid of being too manipulative with pain points, obviously. And, oh yeah, and for the research, do a very long client interview, ask them, try and get into the customer's head and in the client's head as much as possible, as much as fucking possible. And then all you want to do is then go to their marketing materials, and you want to then go to Reddit and Quora. And by the way, stop using AI. Stop using AI so much. So for example, when you take the client call, you don't want to just feed the transcript to AI and say, fill everything. Fill all the questions that I asked with answers. Because you're going to lose their voice. You're going to lose the actual words that people use, which I told you is insanely important. So you stop using AI all the time. Okay? If you want me to give you some AI prompt that's going to give you fantastic pain points, exactly you should word them and how you should use them and what feature it brings, so then just please click off my video and don't come back again, because I'm very against that, okay? Not saying that AI can't be okay, I'm saying that you can be way better than that. And that's why I'm making these videos, so you can become way better, so you can become irreplaceable. Because when you know these things that the AI fucking doesn't know, then you're better, then you're irreplaceable, then you're actually valuable, and that's when you can land people. So that's it. One more time, first link in the description is my lead magnet, which you really want to take, because I'll show you how to become a copywriter people actually would die to hire with insane skill. It's not for total beginners. If you've never written a word of copy, that's not for you. Don't get it. But if you have, you don't need to be a pro to get it, but just make sure you know some basics. Get it, read it, see how I email you, and fall in love with my world. Bye.